Alright, so I opened up our last save version of this, and I'm just going to fix this up. So I don't want to start building up too many names in our fur group. So, because when I imported at the end of the last video, you know, it had like this big prefix hierarchy name, and I just want to keep it simple, as simple as possible while we're going through this here. So let me see here. I just want to fix this stuff up, and then we want to look at the look of the fur, because it could be a little bit nicer looking, I think. Just a tiny bit nicer looking. All right, first things first, I'm going to go in and turn on sculpting, and we're going to fix this stuff here. So grab and move. I'm just going to pull this stuff out. Now, one thing I might want to do is just turn off the noise, just so I can see what's actually happening with the real fur. You know, the noise is an enhancement. I'll just make everything better. But again, I just want to see what's actually going on, because then you can start seeing the inconsistencies a little bit better, where there's some problems happening and stuff. Which for the most part is looking pretty good, but you know, there's just a few little lumpy bumps and stuff like that here and there. Now I think I wrecked your part a little bit. You could always add that back in. Right, I could always just go back in and fix that a bit more. Without putting it through itself. I'm just going to invert this, so I'm just going to right click, invert frozen on my cell on the brush. That way I can just kind of paint this one over the other way a bit. Right. And just puff it up a bit. Cool. Alright, so now I have a bit of a more solid part. Now I want to, like, the smooth doesn't work that great in this version. I am the first to admit that, but I want to do a couple things. So smooth orientation. I want to smooth the curvature. Alright, so I just want to kind of smooth stuff out. Just to get a nicer overall look if I can. So you just want to do it in a way that's not going to push through stuff. So let me just see which settings are going to be the best here. Somebody's trying to get a hold of me. So I'm just tapping when I do this. Let me unfreeze. Unfreeze. Try to avoid just undoing with XGen, because I find that's what causes a lot of the problems with the menus not appearing and stuff. Like I just did an undo. So I'm just kind of going through and trying to, yeah, this smooth on this side's not working. This one worked out perfectly though, look at that. This one's a little bit not so good. And I didn't fix this ear up like I did the other side, so maybe I should just do that very quickly. We turned off that collision surface, so that's another thing. Oh. It's great to get started, but you can see that, you know, it does have its drawbacks. There we go, that's pretty good. Maybe smooth around there if I can, so let me unfreeze all, go back into my smooth. See, now it's not changing, which is so frustrating. So I just have to hope my settings are decent enough to fix that up. Alright, so I think this is looking a little bit better overall. Like, I don't know what keeps happening to these feet here, because I'm not anywhere near them, but they keep doing this to me, which is so frustrating. I think it's this guy. I think I have it on project, so if I were to move, say, here, yeah, see, did it move? If I move this, let's see. If I move this, does it move that? No, well, a little bit, I think. Yeah, it did. Yeah, so let me just reset. Another thing you might want to entertain is to create a new sculpt layer when you're working on this stuff. That way, you know, if it doesn't work out, you could always kind of blend it off. So I noticed, you know, there's a bunch of stuff that's happened, and it's all because of this guy. So what I'm going to do is, let me see here, collide with meshes. Is this the right one? There is no projected. I thought there was for sure. Let me turn collisions back on. I'm just trying to get a bit of a nicer overall groom. Having the noise off just lets me see what it actually looks like. We can always turn the noise back on after, but I just want to get a nice flow over the body, basically. If I can. Symmetry on, because if that is, that's maybe causing some of the problems. No, it's off. Okay. Now I can see it's a little bit long on the bottom of the feet, so we don't want to probably do something there. Probably just scale it down a bit. And we can always mask out stuff that shouldn't get moved, right? If we're happy with stuff, I should have been doing this all along, maybe. Just mask it out. Even the legs and stuff, you know, this is so I don't have to keep going over them every time I do something. Like, we're kind of happy with stuff, just, you know, just kind of mask it out. And that way I can just kind of focus on the stuff that, you know, I'm a little bit less happy with, but we can probably fix it up still. Like this stuff up here. It's starting to look a little bit better. It's tricky, right? Because it's just one of those unending processes. I mean, it ends eventually, but I'm just making it all nice and fluffy and stuff. And I just want to fix this stuff in here. Whoops. Just by masking that. And then painting over this area. Just like in ZBrush, masking is your friend. It kind of helps smooth everything out. I'm just trying to avoid going right to the edge so I don't have to keep going all the way across the model. Because I can see there's some stuff here. So this is where it may be smooth. Let's go like really low intensity smoothing. Or not super low intensity smoothing. There we go. Just gotta watch out. I'm gonna watch out for stuff. Now that's probably from the collision. I'm gonna undo, and then I'm gonna turn collisions off here. There we go. Yeah, no, that's still not from the collision. I'm gonna turn collisions back on again. Yeah, I got some problems in through here because of the collisions. So let me just freeze. I'm gonna go 1 foot at a time and then freeze it. Inverting the frozen just so I can paint over this. Yeah, because I just want this to be better. It's okay, but we want it better. You know, I wanted to cut the bottom parts just so it's a little bit, or just scale it in, but you know, it's one of those things where. Let's go back in here. Yep. And then I'm going to mask this stuff out. So I'm painting just the mask areas. Yeah, that looks better. That's better. I'm going to do the same thing with the front. Alright, so unfreeze all. I'm going to go 1 foot at a time. Yeah. 1 foot at a time. And I'm just going to paint this out. Do some painting over that. And I'm going to unmask that. Unfreeze all. I'm going to freeze this one. Cool. I'm going to unfreeze this part. Control. Alright, and let's do this one now. So back over here. And we'll just puff this stuff out. Cool. Alright, unfreeze all. So the key is to use masks where you can, and then smooth out in between. Yuck. Sorry. Ugh, I lost my talking voice. Alright, just give me a second. Unfreeze all. Alright, so I'm going to save. This is looking way better. way better, except for right here. It doesn't look good there. So again, one more time, mask that out. Just being very slow and patient. I know we don't have much time, but being slow and patient actually saves time, and you actually have more time because you only have to do it once, hopefully. All right. I'm just gonna brush this and puff it out. Okay, and then unfreeze all. I'm gonna freeze this, and then I'm gonna brush this stuff. It's just a little bit nicer. Collisions on? Nope, I don't. Just some frozen stuff happening. This one's not looking so good down here. Just gotta get the right angle, that's all. Maybe try smoothing it. Oh yeah, so it's happened again. This is why I should have maybe created a new sculpt layer. Because it would have maybe made it a bit easier to get this a bit nicer. Alright, I'm going to go with that. So, unfreeze all. It's not 100% the nicest. 100% the nicest, but I'm going to go with it. Alright, you know, it's a lot nicer though than it was before. Alright, so I'm going to save. And then we can go in and, so I'm just looking at the face. There's some slight bald patches here. Let me just turn on the face one here. And I'm going to turn off collisions. And we're going to edit this one. And with my brush, I'm just going to go in and just raise some stuff up a bit. Kind of pulling it out just slightly, because there's just this kind of balding patch in some spots. There we go. It's a little bit nicer. All right, save. I'm gonna save one more time. So now we can go in and start adding in our noise and stuff like that. Now before we do, I do want to probably thin this up a little bit, so go back over here. So I'm going to change the width scale, just make it thinner. I'm going to go over to the density, and I'm going to make it denser. Is that too dense? I noticed it was really tiny before. What did I do? I think I just saved though recently. I'm going to pause. I'm going to unpause. Alright, there's the density. So we actually did a pretty good job. There's a couple spots obviously where it's a little bit kind of rough. But overall I think it's a pretty decent job once we add in the noise and stuff like that. That's too much though. So I'm gonna go back down to like 0.2, 0.25. Alright, that's a little bit better. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is go back over to the top of the hierarchy. And I'm going to reduce the taper down and start increasing the size a bit. Just so it's a little bit, tiny little bit thicker, right? Something like that. That's pretty good. And then we're going to go in and save. And I'm going to create some clumps. Having slightly thicker hair does act kind of like clumps, so that's good. I want this to be even more tapered at the ends though, so let me just see if I can do that. There we go. So a bit more like this. And then let's go into the clumping. Alright, so back over to our XGen. And I'm going to go add in a deformer clump. And let it do its thing. I don't know why it's so slow, but I think something happened. Maybe your hair was like really dense when you put it on. That's why I was doing this, but anyhow. So clumps. And let's go into our clump menu. I just have to increase the density, so I'm going to start by going to 10, because I don't see any clumps whatsoever. Okay, I'm just going to pause while it's doing this thing. Alright, we're back. I think clumping's out of the question because it just keeps crashing on me. Alright, so no clumping allowed, I guess. But what I do want to do is throw the noise back on here at least. So let me go and put that in. I don't know why the clumping's not working. So let me just go back here. Yeah, it's odd. I want to try one more time though, so let me just see clump. I'm going to change the order. I'm going to put it down a little bit lower, below collisions, I think, if possible. As I've never seen it not work before. Well, it's doing something. Yeah, it's weird, huh? It just doesn't want to do the clumps. That's okay. If it doesn't do clumps, we don't need clumps. Oh, but something's happening. I can see it. I can see it, but you know. Let me see here. Something was happening, but I want more density. I want to put more density. I want to put like 50. But maybe it just takes forever for it to update to 50. Maybe that's what's happening. It's just taking forever. It shouldn't. It should just be instantaneous. But I think maybe because your fur is so dense when you created it that it's struggling with the clumping. Maybe I think that's what's happening. That's okay. We don't need clumping. It's just a nice to have. It's not a necessity. Although for real fur, you know, it's all about the clumping and stuff. That's okay. Because I don't think this is going to work. I think it froze again. So I'm going to kill Maya and open it one last time. Yeah, so I don't think the clumps are a go, unfortunately. So I'm going to go back in here. And let's turn your noise back on. Cool. Yeah, see, and it looks a little bit, just a little bit better overall. Nice and smooth. There's not as much inconsistencies. One thing I probably want to do with your noise is just to, or actually just on the main body here, is just rebuild the curves one more time. Actually, I think that's under the one that has density. Just rebuild. Here it is here. I'm just going to set that to 10 and rebuild. There we go. Right, so it's just going to give us more points, which means we're probably going to have to tone down the the noise just a little bit. You can see it's a little bit too much noise. So I'm going to go over to your noise, and we're going to tone it down. Oh my gosh, look at that noise curve here. That's crazy. Crazy awesome. I'm going to give it a new noise curve. So I'm going to keep this one, and we're just going to try something new. Alright, so I'm going to go under Add Modifier, Noise. Right, and I just want to have some noise, but not crazy noise. Yeah, so I probably want to lock the bass down and free the tops. And I'm going to start playing around with the frequency and the magnitude, right, just to give it a little bit more of a wave. Let's see here. All right, maybe higher magnitude, lower frequency. There we go. All right. Yeah, let's see what that looks like when it renders. So I'm going to throw back on the redshift. Now, when we're exporting this, it is probably better to export it not with the redshift material associated, right? So just putting the physical material back on it, like I had it originally. But let's see, they all seem to work, so maybe it's fine. All right, so assign new material, existing material. I created the fur. That was in a different file. All right, so I'm going to create a new fur. I want to use just the regular redshift hair. Redshift hair, and same with the face. So redshift hair. And again, I'm just going to go through and light and so xgen. Now remember, we have our clean file, so this is all in the fur file, because all we want from this file is to export out our fur. All right, so I'm gonna go into my environments, use that Montreal kitchen again. Okay, and let me just bring up my IPR, which is too high resolution, so let's lower that down a bit. Now your IPR, you know, it doesn't look as good in IPR. I should just point that out. I'm gonna have to do an actual render. And this resolution's too high. So we probably want more noise, so maybe your noise isn't so bad. It's just that it was just a little bit crazy, that's all. I'm going to layer in your noise. So I have my noise, but I also add your noise. So there's going to be two noises. But on your noise, I'm going to dial down the mask, right, so it doesn't affect it as much. And so I'm just going to dial this down. So it's somewhere in between. A couple spots where it could be fixed up, right? So I can see just this area right here. I would fix that up a bit. Let's see if I can turn that light source around a bit so it's a little bit nicer looking. This one isn't so good just yet. Let me just do an IPR. That's a bit better. Face is a little bit gross. Alright, let's see if I can just go back to strictly your fur. Your noise. Oh yeah, it's not too bad actually. A little bit fluffier. Probably don't need as many hairs though, but yeah, it's looking pretty good actually with your noise. Now my noise is intermixed in there, so I don't know if that's adding any value. So let me just tone mine down a bit. Now I did rebuild the curve, so that's going to give it a bit more stuff there. Yeah, that's nice and fluffy. Alright, it's a nice fluffy dog. A couple spots where it's a little bit uneven, but overall it's looking a lot better. We could probably reduce the overall number of hairs, I think. Which is this guy right here. So I think at 0.08 originally, so I'm going to go just double it. It's 0.15. You know, we're getting some little skin patches, so as long as your skin color is similar to the dog, then then we should be okay. But I could also go into the top node, right, and we can kind of play around with the width at the base. So width scale, I'm just going to increase this. Let me get rid of some of these guys here. Now, I wouldn't actually add fur to the face, to be honest, but yeah, we could still do that. I'm just going to go a little bit thicker here. Bring it down to a fine point. And that should fill in the gappy bits. Now the face fur, I guess it's white, right? Or a whiter color, so I'm going to change that. This is looking pretty good. Overall I'm not seeing the inconsistencies as much. There's one right here. But, with your hamburger and shadows and stuff like that, I don't think it'll be as noticeable as it was before. Now this is looking really good in through here with the part, and this is nice and fluffy. A little bit of an inconsistency right here and here. But I'm not seeing a lot of skin, which is good. So it's nice and fluffy dog. A little under the ear, but again, if you color your body a similar color to the fur, then you're not going to get like those little skin patches. You won't notice it. Right? It'll just kind of look natural. Cool. It's looking pretty good. Right, looks like little fur. The feet look good too, which is a bonus. So the only other thing is just this face here. So I just want to make sure that that also gets a fur, its own fur, and I put one on there. Call this face hair. This is RS until whatever color. I'm just going to go white, and one more render. We could probably increase the density on that face fur, but okay. Well, this is working, so I'm just going to pause while this renders, and then the last thing I'm going to do is export this out, just like we did before. I'm going to put it on the clean file. I just want to make sure it works okay. But you can see if the fur is the same color as the skin underneath, you don't notice it as much. It just kind of works. So just make sure the skin of the body is very similar to whatever your body hair color is, and then you should be okay. Because it kind of just works. Works better. I mean, there's some inconsistencies there I can see, but it works better. We could add more density. I think that'll get rid of it. Make the hairs thinner, perhaps. The nose could be a little bit nicer. I know I don't have your shaders, so okay. Before I export this out, I'm going to do one more render, but I just want to just make sure the density is enough here. So first things first, I'm going to go into the width, maybe taper it down more, right? Make sure it goes to a point. Real hair doesn't go to a point, it's the same thickness basically, but we're faking it. And density multiplier, I'm going to go denser. I'm going to go double, so 0.6. And it's really short hair. I'm going to change this to like kind of go lower. 4 is the lowest. Let me rebuild. All right, and let me try one last render. I'm going to pause while I do this render. All right, for the most part, I think it's working. There's some shadowing in through here. It's just fur shadows, I guess, right? So you could go a bit longer with that, but for the most part, I think I would just leave it at this point for now. But yeah, I think this is going to work. So I'm just going to do this one last time. I'm going to export this stuff out. Now, I don't have a redshift, or sorry, the hair material on here. So I'm going to see what happens if I export out the redshift hair. I can always export out those shaders and import them in as well if it doesn't come in with this stuff. So let's go here. We're going to go to the face description first. I'm going to go to description, preset, export. Okay, I'm going to say first, sure. And then I'm going to click on this. We're going to call it dog face. We're going to call it, I know I don't have a 3, but I want to keep the face and the body the same numbers, and I don't want to save over anything because sometimes things happen. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to click the save button, and then I'm going to click export. Now something's happening because I saw the wheel turn, so I think it's there. I'm going to select the body. I'm going to go description. Let me get rid of this so I can see if there's like the thing happening. I'm going to click on the description, preset, export. Click on the folder, and we're going to call this one dog body 3. And I'm going to save this. I'm going to export. So clicking the save button, I didn't hit enter. So, all right, it looks like it did it. So I'm going to save this one more time. Once it lets me. Okay, nothing to save. Good stuff. I'm going to open up my animation. And now I think we saved a clean version of it, which was one of these guys. I think it was this one. So I'm going to just open this up. So remember, we had referenced in the clean model with no fur, right? So if you remember from the first video, right, and that's all looking good still, but that has fur. So where is this? Did I save over top of it? Let me see. That looks good, but I did. I must have saved over top of it. But that's fine, because that means that's in here. So let's see. Where is that stuff? Well, here it is here. So I'm going to delete it. So I'm going to select this and delete. I'm going to select this and delete, and we're going to re-import this. So just remember, have a clean file. Now I'm debating if we even need to have it in a default pose. I think it's probably best, because remember we took the skin off. So let me just save this. File save. All right. So again, I got the body selected. Make sure that's the only thing selected. Description, import, UVs, there we go. So if it's not in the original position, then we have to use this, and then I think things can happen, right? So that's why we want to be in a default position. I'm going to go to dog body 3 and import. It's going to import our brand new updated dog body. Oh, look, I think I brought in the texture, right? Because it's there, but it has the texture on it. Good stuff. Select the face, cache, not cache, sorry, import, UV based, dog face 3, import, and again, that's there, that's all there. Cool. Right, so now what I need to do is cache this stuff. So I'm going to start by selecting the body. Oh, I can't cache it yet though. I got to turn on the geometry. So let me just turn everything off, except for polygons. Select the face first. Go to cache. Create new cache. Nope, just kidding. Can't cache yet. Can't cache yet because I got to turn on the weights. Right, so turn the weights back on. There we go. And now I can cache it. So back over here. So let's start with the body first, I guess. So cache, create new, cache. And I'll put in the same XGen folder, and I'll call it body 3. All right, there we go. And it's just going to go through and cache everything. I'm going to pause for a sec. Alright, it cached out. So next thing I want to do is cache out the face. So I'm going to select the dog face and same thing. So description, cache, create new cache. And we're going to call it face 3. Basically the same as what the descriptions were that I exported out. And I'm going to pause here. Cool. So it looks like everything's working. It looks like it's all sticking. It's hard to tell though in wireframe, but if it's anything like the last thing we saw, then I think it's probably good to go. I think this should work. I'm going to send you the fur files, the exported files in case you wanted to check out what I did. So those exported descriptions, you could even try importing those into a clean version, make sure they come in okay. Or not, you can just try it on your own. But yeah, this is all going to work pretty cool, I think. Okay, cheers. Bye.